Okay. So we both have performed it. I think the first time I learned this piece was when I was a student and I was applying for the National Youth Orchestra of Canada, and they had a typo. They wanted the oh no, that was for flute. That's right. I was auditioning on the flute, and they said Mozart concerto in C major, and what they meant was G major, which is a much more important flute concerto. And I came in with my piano accompanist, and I played the flute part for this. And they said, that's the wrong concerto. And I said, look, you C major. And so then I learned the flute part first, and then I played the harp part next time I came back. Um, but anyway,
Wow.
so yeah, that was kind of a. So I thought. Oh, and where are you going away?
I'm hiding now because I I can't get my harp facing the computer. I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, before I forget to mention it, Lanny, so next lesson, the last one, I probably will be on the
I'll
boat,
let
and
you.
I do have access to Starlink and stuff, but I thought maybe you should host it on your Zoom account for the next lesson. Oh dear, have we lost you?
Mhm.
Are you there?
Yeah,
Have you got the
that's a
original
good
sound
idea.
on?
No, I
Ah,
don't yet. I don't yet, but yes, that's a good idea. I will. I'll send the Zoom link for the last class.
okay. And I'll try to come in, from the boat with my little wee harp. Okay, so then what would you like? Should we start with the that little warm up stuff, the Renié, or should we just dive into the Mozart first and see if there's any time left over for the Renié?
Maybe Mozart first.
Okay,
What do you guys think?
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So since we both played it, we'll just kind of contribute our little bit. So I don't usually bother playing the opening two or three bars because that's a tutti. That's where everyone's playing at the same time, and it's down here, like in the this part, and then you just sit there and you wait for a while. But the next one that comes in, and the interesting thing is, he rolls the chord in a strange way. He does like which is not our usual way of rolling chords, because usually the harp rolls a chord from left to right. And a lot of harpists do that, but in fact, Mozart very clearly wrote it as grace notes, so it's supposed to be like that. And it's very full. So what I use this for is just to really dig into those strings and really push in, so it gets as much sound as I can right off the bat. Because once it goes faster, it's harder to develop to build up that volume. So I would just say, let's all of us just for the first couple of bars, they're starting at B, where it says solo. We'll just do that a couple of times and just see how much volume you can get. So I'm just going to count us in 4/4. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's about it. So we'll just do that a couple of times just to get those fingers moving and right into the palms. And when you're doing it, what I find is once I come down here, once I'm going downwards, I just leave my thumb right on top here, and I don't bring it back up until I start to come around the corner. And then I get it on again as soon as I can. So you can see it's still sitting there. And that gives you a nice strong beginning. And then this is where it gets interesting. So in Salzato's version, he takes these two like this, instead of like the way it's written here, which is very tiring, but Salzato does this. Sorry. And then he takes the next one, the way it looks, and then he's back to this. And then back again to, sorry, and back again to this. And then the next one is also like that, and then you go to this. So it's like this. much less tiring, because if you did it the way it was written, you'd already be tired by the time you got to that little section. Is that what you did, Lanny? Did you use that fingering too?
I did. I did take it, yeah, with the left hand.
Yeah.
But actually now I find it's a little bit easier for me. I think now because I use my third finger, now I find it a little bit easier. I find it a little bit, I can float a little bit better to use my third finger. The fourth finger was a no, so this was much easier to go with the left hand. But I mean, it's sort of like right now they're a bit equal for me. But you're right, it does there's a lot of stuff to do in the piece. And
Yeah.
you're right off the top. You don't want to get too tired.
Yes.
But using the third finger does help me because it kind of squeezes a little bit, so you don't have to work too hard to make that sound from the bottom. I would still tell students to split.
Yeah, because I find it also says piano and then forte and then piano and then forte. So he has this thing where it's like and then loud, and then you start to crescendo. In fact, I used to just keep going that way, I believe, because the original, when I first learned it, I didn't have Donna's copy, so I just had Salzato's, and that's what he did. He just kept going up, just I think like that. Yeah, he just kept going. Yeah, he didn't add the bottom octave at all. He just went, and that was how I originally played it until I discovered that it was missing something. So anyway, that all really works really well. So you're not tired by the time you get to this. And this is an amazing thing here. So this is bar 50, or where it says solo harp. And then he split it. He went 2-1, 2-1. And then he came in with his 1-2 right here. So that it's, again, you're just using two fingers and you have more strength with it. And then I just went. So I'm going 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 2. And then this one, I'm just going 1, 2, 3, 4. Some people do this, like 2, 2, 2, 2 all the way down there. And I, of course, alternate my fingers coming down there. But I love this thing here. Sorry, that's not it. But it works so well. You can go really fast. Like, it's incredible how much easier it is to do with that little kind of 2-1, 2-1 little thing and one time I was practicing it in a hallway when we did Sishi, and Cristina Braga, the Brazilian harpist, was there, and she was walking by. She said, "What are you doing?" And I said, I showed her, and she was so upset that she hadn't known that before, because she's played it a number of times and had to do it all in one hand, and was just like, I wish I'd known. But some people do. They do it all in one hand, and it's fine. But I just find that this gives you a chance to really yank at the strings, and you can get more volume. So do you also do that one, Lanny? Is that with the 1, 2, and the yeah. But this really works really well. And so you've got these lovely harmonies. It does it again. The only thing you have to watch out for is that you don't crash into yourself in here, so you can keep it legato by just being very careful how you get in there. So that's a spot that you could practice just for legato and just for not colliding.
Yeah, that is a daily exercise. That this is a really, you can do that in many ways. I think you showed me this one, Elizabeth, and then you can do it in different keys, you know. You can do it in a different key every day. You can do it as a warm-up. It's a really good
It's a
exercise.
terrific fingering.
Yeah, it's terrific.
Yeah, there's so many, like if you ever, even if you never want to play this piece, just to buy the thing just for his fingerings, because there's so many really smart ideas all the way through this.
Yeah. I'm just gonna let you know I'm gonna plug my my tablet in, and I'm just gonna log into my tablet. So you'll see two of me for a second, but
That's fine.
I'm just gonna swap out. So
Okay.
just continue.
Okay.
My
So then,
computer is a bit slow.
now, do you have any, just generally speaking, do you have any problems doing this 1 2 1 3 thing? Does that give you any problems there? I find it's easier going down than coming up. Any issues with that? Okay, and then we do that. That's that. And then the next thing is the one that you hear coming out of every practice studio, in harpdom, because this is really tricky. So you've got the little Bernie bass going down here, and then you've got these little things, these scales. And so I'll show you, coming up here, there's another really smart thing he's done. So he just does this. I'm going to do it very slowly. So far, so good. And then right here, so he takes that D in his thumb, and he goes, so like this. And then here he does this. He goes 4 3 2, hops off, and goes 1 2 3 4. So, and then he takes the next C in his thumb of his left hand. I'll stop right there because this is a whole handful of stuff. So the first two bars are just straight ahead the way they look. And one of the things you can do to make these scales a little bit easier is to try and get both 4 and 3 on at the same time if you can. But you have to kind of pull your hand back and make sure you're not colliding with this note here. In fact, often I would just sit there and play my thumb with these two fingers here. And then you've got this little oscillation. And then I would put all my fingers on. So 4 3 and 2 went on as a little unit. So I go, and here's another one. And I would in practice just doing my thumb like this. And then just 1 2 3 4. And then I just went 1 4. So you're just going 1 2 3 4 1. And then that D is now in my thumb of my left hand, so you get to there. So you can just practice that part. This is bar 60, where you have just, so that those two notes are together, there's your C, and then you just hop this. And the way to make sure you don't collide with yourself is make sure you place these before you play that D. So I had to practice that, the timing. I just did that a bunch of times. And then you hop off and you just start from here, 1 2. And then here's where I got into, this is Salzato's fingering. 4 3 2, hopping off, 1 2 3 4. And I practiced that a lot. And then just putting it with a, and again, trying not to run into anything there. So right there, again, a very fast switcheroo, making sure that I'm placed on those fingers, on those strings in advance. So they have that, what did I do? Yes. And then you try to speed it up and see if you can still do it. So at that point, are there any questions or any problems you're having with any of this? Because that's a lot. No? Okay. All right.
All looks good to me.
All right. All right. So then the next thing, of course, is this thing. And then what Salzato did, I'm just going to open up his music on the other side of my music stand here. Something a little different here. I think what he did, he just went, he really cheated. So he left out a bottom octave and it made his right hand so easy there. But I found that was not necessary, so I just put them back in. So I did this. And then he started with it just the, and I don't know why he didn't keep the octaves going, and I suspect it's because the harps were smaller then, and maybe they just didn't have those strings, because when this was written, they hadn't even finished developing the mechanism yet. The mechanism had only the one slot it could go into. It just had sharps. It didn't have flats yet, or I mean, it just could go through one semitone. So they were quite little, those harps, and I suspect that that's why it didn't keep going with octaves, because there probably wasn't anything underneath there. I don't know, but it just anyway, that's what happens there, because it just suddenly cuts out, and now you just have the right, and then here you don't do this. It's just too fast, so everyone just does these as solid. I don't know anybody that actually does that in their left hand. Maybe somebody does, but I don't. And Salcedo didn't.
I, I think Sasha did the other day when I
Of
saw the
course you
recording.
did.
And guess what I did? I went back to my practice room.
So he does the octave. He does this.
I'm pretty sure that's what he was doing in the video. Yeah. Yeah. And the only way to do that is really just to squeeze. You can't like pluck it. You can just squeeze it
Yeah.
with like kind of a, I don't know. I can't make much sound out of it.
No.
The other thing that I did want to note when we get here is I always had a little bit of trouble getting that F sharp pedal. Not getting the F sharp pedal, but that it would put me off balance.
Oh.
So, you're knitting everywhere, dugga, 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 and when you get here, and I always kind of felt like as soon as I changed that pedal, I wasn't quite physically ready for it, and I'd be like throwing out my foot, and then it would throw off what I was doing with my hand. And I didn't realize for a long time that it was the pedal that was actually making me sort of schmutz the top of that line or like the middle of that line as you're coming up.
Hmm.
And then I finally realized that I was kind of pushing and squeezing my arms and I couldn't get through that line very
Oh,
comfortably.
because
So
you were
just,
holding on to the harp because you probably thought the harp was
well,
gonna.
right, just every time you do the F sharp, I would just kind of, yeah, like kind of squeeze my arm and it just made it really hard for my hand to move up which is not a very difficult pattern as long as you're staying consistent as you go up. As soon as you change the pedal, you don't want to change your position of your hand. So just be careful with that's not happening.
Yeah.
Because then it happens again, then you do the F natural, then you do the F sharp again. So just be careful that your hand is really independent of what your body and your feet are doing.
Yes. In fact, I
That.
remember Richard Turner showed me that he starts these little patterns with 4, 2, 3, 1, and then keeps going after that. So he gets the first four, which I'd never seen before. And he did it again here.
Oh.
I never did use that, but I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, well, especially because you're coming from the octaves.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's an interesting.
I think it was probably because it's hard not to kind of, run into things. Like I tried for a long time to just stay out of my own way, but I finally gave up, and I deliberately hit, with the front of the curve of my third finger. So I'm kind of cleaning it up as I'm going. Whereas before, when I was starting to learn this, I was trying to pull my hand back and stay off the strings, but it was just too much work and it wasn't making it sound any better. So then I went completely the opposite direction and just deliberately used the front of my fingers to dampen the previous note, and I found that gave it more clarity anyway. But maybe that was what Richard was trying to do, was to set it up as a nice legato sound and then try to stay out of his way when he kept going. So there's a few options there, but I do like the dampening in the left hand. And the other thing too, when you get to 64 and you have to change your F sharp, let's see, you're here. You don't have to lock it, just push it down because it's going to come back up again. So you just push it down and let it back out. You don't actually put it in its slot, and then now it's just sitting there. Well, it's just an F natural here. And again here, no, this one you leave. You do keep it locked because you're going to need it. And then you only have 2 bars there, but it's a wonderful flute cue. It's like, the flute goes, and then you get into this. So you hear that flute cue and you know where you are. Of course, I did this whole thing from memory because, I knew this thing backwards and forwards at the time because I'd played it on the flute. So I had all of that in my ear. So you have that flute. And now this part here says sotto voce. So the flute is playing a melody. So the flute's going da da ba da 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 da. So you're just kind of staying out of her way, or it was always a her. No, it wasn't. I played with men as well. So trying to keep this nice and even and not have the bottom kind of punch out is really, this is a challenge because you want it to be heard, but it's sort of like it's an accompaniment. And then these are like little grace notes, but they're almost just like a roll, like almost like just an octave, but very, very quick. And the way I memorized it was I just thought, well, G major, E minor, C7, D major, and then that is the 5 of this. Now, when I got to here, I did something a little weird. So I started off, took the bottom D with my second finger, but then after the next 2, I think I went 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then another 3, because I found trying to not bash into, I didn't want to have that happen. So you have to, if you're going to do them as 3s, you can only put the top 2 on and then wait for the 3rd finger, which is awkward. So what I did was I did the first one like that, and then I did the next 2 as groups of 2s. Oopsie, that's right. And I did it that way, and then it came, because it's very fast. And then try not to run into that. So that bar alone, I spent, I don't know how much time just trying to make it sound beautiful, because that's your little solo. The flute has stopped playing right there, and then she's back again. So right in there, you're just doing the same thing again. Again, just these quick little grace notes. And Salcedo added another octave on here, because I guess he figured you start with your octaves. It just seems to not, why would you not just, so I'm very used to adding that extra G in that bar, in bar 76. So let's just practice a little bit of this, just going really slowly, just because it's so much fun to play. So we're just going to start at the top of the page really, really slowly. And Lanny, do you have any comments to make to add to this?
No, I like all of it. Depending on the speed, I think now I did do, when I played it, bar 72, I did do the 2-finger split.
Yeah,
yeah. I don't have my score out, so I think that's what I did, because I felt exactly as you said. The single finger felt very awkward.
Yeah.
So just doing that 1 finger, but doing 1, 2, 1, 2 worked really nicely. But I think now, actually, I would do probably just 1 hand. Although you're right, it does need to pop out and be loud. But I think just to save my left hand trying to jump up and back down, because I always had a hard time getting back to the G in bar 73. That was always a tricky spot for me to like really land that nicely. So I think if I played it again, I might try to do that all with 1 hand. That bar 72. But again, all the choices that we make need to be like for relaxation, right? Yeah, so if it's a big play and it's only page 2. So
yeah, you can kind of just blow out your attendance in the first 3 pages,
Really, yes, yeah. But then the question is, sometimes my tension will build from jumping around the harp. So I think that's when I would have to like really see which one is giving me more tension and more like stress coming into it.
Let's do this little bit. We'll do it quite slowly, and then we'll move into the next little section here. So we're going to start right from the top of this page in bar 69, I think that is. Yep. So I'll count us in 1, 2, 3, 4. Oopsie, sorry, my bad. that's all there is to it. And the way I thought about this again was just thinking about the chords instead of individual notes. And now this part I totally love. This is just a good old D7 right here. But it's shaped like this, so it's like a, it's not like a seventh, it's like this, so. And this works with the threes. And now here's what I really love, what he did here. He did this. Oopsie, sorry, I thought I had this memorized. And it works amazingly. Oopsie. So all you have to do in there is just simply think it's just D7. And this is another wonderful little pattern to just practice and memorize. Because you're just playing this. Oh, sorry. Ah. But then it's like, what is it if I put it all in one hand? So it's not like a seventh. It's not like your usual seventh inversions. It's slightly spread out. So, but your left hand is just a seventh. Oopsie. So the seventh is in your left hand. So that's all it's doing. But right here, this is just G major, and you just go and break it up into twos. And then your left hand thumb just takes that D. So meanwhile, your right hand hasn't moved from these two notes. It goes, sorry, it starts off, there's your G and your D. And then you take over from those two notes. So you used to be in your left hand, and now it's in your right hand. And you go back and play where your other hand was. And I can't tell you how much I love playing that, because it was so, once I got the hang of that, it was so easy and easy to make it sound good, and it sounded so brilliant, and without having to do all of this stuff in your right hand. So, and then you just did it again, same thing again. Same again. And all you had to remember was the very last one of the da-das. You just go to the next inversion up from where you think you're going to be going. So there's that one, you're on the D and the G. And then you just come down to the next note in the chord where you just were. Jump down again just to the next one. But this one you don't, you just go to the D. So then again, it's just a matter of remembering the last one comes out of the pattern, doesn't follow the same pattern as the others. So shall we try this one? This little, just the thing from bar 78. No, I think we'll split it into two things. Just 78 and 79, just doing that D7 thing. And if you want, you can just do the right hand. So what it is, it's part of a seventh. Each time you're just leaving out one of the notes of the seventh. And it just follows that down. Oopsie. And then you just come up one note to start the next thing. So you just come down to that A and you just scoot over to there. So let's just try the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you break it up like that, it's not so terrifying. I can tell you, I was absolutely terrified when I realized I had to play this thing, and I really thought, oh my God, it's impossible. But I actually did it, but still can't quite believe it. And then the left hand just goes like D, and then it just does this D7 from the top. And then resolves to the G. And that's it. I think the left hand here just goes. And I think that's like, I'm trying to remember what, I'm so used to doing it all together. The left hand does that. So yeah, it goes da-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum. And then I think that's it. Yeah, and then that's it. Yeah, so the left hand, if you split it, if you take it apart, it's just that one. And then. So that is one way of learning it, is just taking it one hand at a time.
I was just gonna say with this bar 78,
Yeah.
when you're practicing it, I'm seeing a bit of like connections from each each beat, like each little grouping. And you might, when you're practicing it, just want to just practice like sort of bouncing into your next position, placing it all at once. Um, because when it gets going fast, if you're in the habit of trying to sort of connect them, it doesn't, it tumbles a little bit. It makes it a little
Yeah.
bit harder to play with the left hand. So I would
Yeah.
practice it,
Yeah.
just
I
a
never thought
little
never
trampoline.
thought, I never thought to connect it actually. No, I couldn't. It throws me right off. So yeah, like I
Yeah,
just have.
it's because of that, yeah, because of that rest, it kind of just throws off the rhythm. I mean, you don't want to bounce off too far, but just like trampoline bouncing into the next position, basically.
Yeah.
So, so that the other thing is, I connect my left hand now, here. I
Oh,
saw
okay.
that. I
Oh,
saw that you're bouncing. I connect them. I think so. Oops, I'm playing it wrong. Yeah, sorry, I played the wrong note, but yes, I connect them now, but I don't know if it sounds differently. It probably sounds better to not connect them. You can probably get more punch out of them, but
well, I find that if I'm playing a single one, I have more power. I can get
yeah,
off and get a little bit more power.
right.
Though I didn't do that in the first page when I have the thing where a lot of people do the 2 2 2 2, and I just do a regular scale. Because I
Hmm.
figure at that point I'm full of nerves. It's the first page.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
I
but
think
once I
that's why I think that's why I started connecting it,
it's not a
because
bad
I
idea.
was still full of nerves on the second page.
Yeah, you could certainly get used to that. Yeah, yeah. I think it's just because I always did it that way.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. And at the very end of that whole little run, you just finish with you can just connect like that to get to the last thing. And then before the class, I added one more page because there was some interesting stuff in the third page of kind of throwing it all at you at once. But so this little bit here is so pretty. It's just like, and what I did here was I used the fronts of my fingers to dampen. So rather than doing this, I did this. And then just punched the strings. So it's like, and because you don't need a great big thing, because the flute's playing, bum 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 ba da da da, so there's stuff going on, and then you just do it again, and again, just use the fronts of my fingers. So that's just the dampening that I wanted to show you. But here, now this is another one of these great salzato things. Like just, oh my goodness, I can't tell you how much I love this one. So he takes his left hand, does this, and then you just come back to the same two bottom notes, the B and the C, and then you just do it again. So your right hand only has to do this. So I'm starting with my second finger and going to my third finger. So it goes like, oops. Oh, what happens there? Sorry. That's it. Yeah. So then it does it with a little bit of practicing. That can go quite fast, and you don't get so tired. So that was wonderful because I think the flute's just going ba-da-dum bum 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 like there, so like da-da-dum bum 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 and so it's real easy to stay nice and bouncy in there.
The flute's doing a lot of nice, just relaxed bouncing
I know it's so
throughout.
funny because for the flute it's really not that difficult because for the flute the C major scale is just like it's all right there. It's like there's no accidental keys. It's all just like right under your fingers. The only thing is the breathing. Making sure you have enough air for that to get through the phrases. And
Yeah, yeah.
that's why they always want to play it super fast because then that way they don't have to worry about running out of gas halfway through a phrase. So yeah, I remember the first rehearsal I had with Camille Churchfield, and she really wanted to go whizzing through here, and I thought, oh my god, But yeah, so we'll just take this left hand here. So this is at the bottom of this page. This is bar 94, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bar 98. So the last two bars of this page. And you just, I went 1, 3, and then to the 3 and 4 are attached now. And then I've used 1, 4, and 2. And then back to 4 and 3 here. And then the same thing again. And then that one. So we'll just do that a couple more, or one more time. 1, 1 and 2 and. And I forgot to mention, the first one is forte, the second time you do it is, I did a piano, like a little echo. And is everyone okay with that? It's a little bit convoluted, but everyone's all right with that. And then we just have this, the right hand is just 2, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's in C major, and then we switch to G major. And then we just do it quieter. Same thing again. And then the left hand takes it, and then we're into the scale. So now they're in thirds except an octave apart. So if you have a C up here, you got an A down there, and slide. And then you start on the B up here and the G down there. Now when I got it back down to here, I can't reach that 3 and 4 very comfortably, so I actually reached for my thumb and then threw my fourth finger on. So when I got to that spot, I went. Now I'm attached like this, and then I added my fourth finger like that. And then bounce, 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 and then another one of these. Bounce, bounce, bounce. And so again, I just dampened. So that's all that is. It's just scales. And then we're into this. And so what Salcedo did, he went 2, 1, 3, 1, 2, and slid his thumb down here. So 2, 1, 3, 1, 2, and then 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. And then we're down here. Now here, you've got an A sharp coming, so you just use your thumb to dampen that A. So in the left hand, you have this, and you just use it to just to dampen, so that you don't hear the A sharp pedals changing. So we'll just go back to where it says solo. That's 104. So you're just going back and forth from the right hand to the left hand, and just meeting each other on the beat. I start changing my A natural pedal sort of just before the bar line, and then now here I switched to my left hand, and I just all the next thing, just all the left hand. With Salcedo, I think he did this, but I just did it all in the left hand. So that's where the flute has got the melody, like like that. So if you do it all in your left hand, you can use your right hand to take the beginning of that scale in bar 111. So I go right hand, left hand, and now I'm back to this. So now I'm actually playing what the flute just played. And what Salcedo did, he was 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, then just hopped with his second finger. And it works. It's kind of amazing. So, and you do it again. But now you have 5 notes and only 4 fingers. So what I did here, just jumped. So I did that. I could not think of a better way to do it. I tried everything under the sun. And Salcedo just left it out. He actually changed it there, which I thought was outrageous. Because that's such a pretty little part. So I put it back in. But you just don't have enough fingers, so you just simply go like, and just jump over, and it actually works. And then another jump, and we're back to this. And that's just 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 2, and then you get to the end of that, and you can connect right into the D, and then you're here. Now here's something else. This is, remember last week we did that slidey thing with the thumbs. this is where it comes in handy. You can go 4, 3, 2, and place your fingers back on the ones you're going to use, and then you slide 3 times, and then you're here. Sorry, that would be 2, 3, 4. So you're sliding the D, the C, the B is not a slide, so it's just, and then sort of like it's like oh, let me see. Yeah, so your fingers are going to go on the A, the G, and the E. And again, Salzedo did something different here. He actually changed the notes, which I didn't think was necessary. And then here's our A minor. And that's just a regular 1 slide. So let's practice just that, because that's kind of useful. So this is 115. So you go like, you just do a regular G major, and then you put your fingers, the second finger on A, third finger on G, fourth finger on E, and you slide the D, the C, and then once you're on the B, you just play normally. In fact, you could just practice that much. So that's just the second, like the end of the first beat into the second beat. And then you just do this regular. So some people will do this, but that's so convoluted and, risky. And that's what I did this little funny little slide here. And he uses that again in the third movement. He does it somewhere else in the third movement. Where shall we start? How about just this bar? I think just right there. This is 115, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll just do it one more time. Just remembering where your fingers are going to go. The A, the G, and the E. And then you just go from there. This is... have this. And we have another slide coming up. Now also we have the same note here, the D. So you just have to wait for it. You can't put your D on here. Same thing here. So it's So I just placed the top 3 and threw the last one on at the last minute. Slide. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So right there. And that's what how I survived that little opening thing. Any questions or any particular difficulties with all of it? I know there's a lot here. No? Any comments, Lanny?
Elizabeth, you do 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you do your 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2 with your right hand?
Yes.
Just before E. Oh, so smart. I think I ended up just doing 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2, which is, well, it works if you works if your eyes are working. You can see where you're going.
I wanted to be able to get my left hand kind of planted.
Yeah. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 is.
And it worked really well. Like that was never a problem, because I don't always like to do stuff like that, but this one worked really well. And I think that might have been Salzedo's fingering. Let me see what he did there.
Yeah, no, that was really smart.
I can't find it. That's that's 120.
And then I think I've seen lots of 4 slides in. I would never do it. I'm not sure what the numbers are here, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Line 5, the first bar that you were just talking about. This brilliant, just the jumping here. So this one. So jumping into that 3.
Yeah.
I've also seen so I just did 4 slide, and I think that's what I'm doing now. But
Wow,
it's both of them are a little dangerous for me, actually.
Yeah,
I find I miss the jump, and the 4 is hit or miss. So.
I am so bad with fourth finger slides. I just try to avoid them like the plague. If I, there's a few times when I'm like, as long as I've got time to get it placed in advance, and then I can slide it, there's no problem. But if it's on the fly, ugh, you know.
Four finger slides are easy. Well, because Mrs. Kling taught me never to place with the forefinger.
Right.
So I feel like my four is kind of a fly by the seat of my pants kind of feel anyways, because she
Yeah.
always made me do it in the air. But the four slide is super useful, but it always causes tension in my pinky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time I do a four slide, no matter what I do, I always end up gripping a
Mhm.
little bit. So, I mean, I guess more practice would help, but that's something to keep in mind too, that four slides can be useful, but they can really build tension in your pinky.
Yes, I was
So,
taught the same thing. I think it was like a thing, where they said don't ever, place your fourth finger. Like in Salzato's method book, he says you
uh,
slide it first and then place. And so I tried
yeah,
that for years, and it never worked for me.
right.
And then there were some pieces, some orchestra parts that you needed five, and so then I just placed it like that. As long as I can get everything on, it's fine. But if I had to do that and then place, forget it. Like there's just no way.
Yeah.
So in something like that, I just found that for this, like that there, I think if I tried to slide, let me see. Oh no, there's no way. There is absolutely no way I could ever do that.
No,
Like I
no,
just
it's
stop.
yeah, it has to stay like,
Yeah,
it has to stay like super, it's a weird little like, it
yeah, and
look,
that's
I,
why Salzato just took it
looks like
right out. Just eliminated it. I guess he figured it didn't work for him either. But
uh,
what did he do there? Like this is 112. Um, what did he do? Oh yeah, he just completely went like he just did this. He just did it again.
just repeated it.
Same, like when there's this lovely little thing that Mozart put in, it just seems like that's not okay to take that out.
No,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So I didn't send any more pages. There's just like tons and tons of material. Like this is like an etude book, except it's a concerto.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's that I wanted to look at in particular. And we still have lots of time. We have like 10 minutes, and so I thought we could either do this Renié stuff that I put in the folder. Um, I've got it like over here. Oops, here it is. This huge. This is this massive phone book by Renié. And what she starts off like on page 189 with this pattern. So she just has the, like 1 5 7 1 4 5 4 5 1, and then she comes down with the same. So it's a great way to just practice little cadences. And then she turns around, comes back, and then she does all these patterns based on that little pattern. And so when I do stuff like this is where I use my little windows, like where I'll just take a tiny segment just to see where the fingers line up, because there's so many places in these 3 pages where it's a real brain freeze. And she gives you the fingerings at the beginning of each new sort of segment. So if you go to, like, for example, page 191, I think that's a one, yeah, 191, for example, she has in the top line, halfway through, she says it's 3 2 4 1. So she goes like 3 2 4 1, 3 2 4, and that's your fingering for the whole thing. See, okay. Yeah. So then, and then you've got the same thing in the left hand, and this is a real brain freeze thing. So what you would do is just take just one little segment of that, just the first beat, for example, and just go. I think, oh, okay, that's not bad. I can do that, and so on. Just take them individually, and then in the next line, she starts doing she does a threes against twos. So that's when it gets really brain freezy. So you've got this, and so I would again just take a triplet at a time, and then that. And I would actually write the fingerings in underneath it, just so that my brain doesn't completely collapse under the strain of trying to remember what finger goes where. So just for fun, shall we just try that line? So this is page 191, is the second line. No, we'll start with just the bar just before that, where it says 3, 2, 4, 1. And we're just gonna, because these ones at least are lined up. So they're just, the first one is a C major, the next one feels like a B, but it's actually not, as a G, but well, whatever. And then it's back to C major, and then it's F major. So we'll just do one beat at a time. So the first one is 1 E and And then you can just circle back and just do that a bunch of times. Just that one, getting used to how that feels. And then we go to the next one. So we'll just take the window and move it over to the next beat. Just 3, 2, 4, 1. And then we can just shift that window over, and now we're in C major again. And then we'll shift again, and so forth. Anyway, that's how I would start, by practicing it that way. And then you get to this next line, and you've got these triplets again. So the first triplet is just, sorry. So you've got 3 and 2 down here, and just 3, 2, 4 up here. And I would just do that, say 5 times. And then move the window over to the next little part of that beat. So now your left hand has got the 4, 1, and you've got this 1, 3, 2 here. And then you'd put that together. Sorry. And just do that a bunch of times. And so on. Is then any other words of wisdom on this one, Lanny?
I gave up. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Um, Words of wisdom are you should definitely do beat by beat before trying to put it together the first time.
Oh, yeah, otherwise,
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely do the right hand because then I'm like, what chord am I playing now? I'm really confused. But moving into the next bar, especially when you switch to your left hand doing 3 and your right hand doing the 4, yeah, do your left hand alone and your right hand alone one time and then put them together. Otherwise, I find sometimes I do that and I just build tension again. It's not like a good exercise for me to like learn my fingering and learn relaxing because I'm just like building tension trying to figure out which finger goes where. But when you do the hand separately, you do once with your left hand, once with your right hand, and then put it together, then it's usually pretty relaxed and then it's a useful exercise. Right.
Yes. And so that particular line, I mean, you've got the 4s against 3s into the, the 3rd and 4th bar of that line, and 4 against 3. And that's even worse because then you've got to, like, you think, okay, I've got 1 E and okay, that's not bad. And I just have this 3, 2, 4, and I have to kind of put that together. And then the next bar after that, it's reversed. So the left hand has got the 1 E and you've got the triplet up here. So you've got this. Oh my goodness. So at that point, I would probably break it down even further. I just think I just got to get the first 2 on at the same time, and then my second finger of my left hand, and then my second finger of my right hand, and then, oh my goodness, wait a second. That's it. No. I mean, it's like you can see I'm already falling apart right there, so that's something I'd have to work on. I actually got it before the lesson, but I've lost it again. So
I got it this time, so.
So just, yeah, again, I would just do the right hand first, like just triple it, and so forth. And then you'd have this da da dee da 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 dee, and then you'd start putting it together, and then it would probably come together a lot better than just trying to.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, once you like just break it into a beat at a time, then it feels good. Or have hubby pour you a glass of wine before you do this one. Right? There it is.
I think some of them are worse. I think that's the worst one. I think the like at the bottom of the page, I think it's just this thing. It doesn't seem as quite complicated. So the one at the bottom, though, it says with the second finger. It seems like generally, I think our second finger is easier to control. That doesn't seem so bad at all, right? So that part's fine, and then it's just the same old 3 against 2, like, and then you would just break that up, and you always just do that first bar, like that first beat of that second bar, just a few times, and eventually you think, oh, okay, and then it's not the same in the second half of that bar because now you're there. So then you practice that. And then you'd finally put those together. That's where I am. That's where it's at the bottom there. And this is 2, 3, 4, 1 at the beginning of that line. Anyway, these are really, really good brain teasers. Sort of like learning she sells seashells.
That's very true.
So anyway, I just thought I'd give you those pages because if you really want to, grow some more gray cells, this is probably a really good way to avoid Alzheimer's.
This is definitely the way to do it. Or if you want to play Mahler or Debussy.
Yes, or Taillefer. Like the Taillefer Sonata has got a whole second movement with 4s against 3s all the way through it.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
But once you know it in a piece, somehow it doesn't seem so bad. Like once you get it kind of incorporated in your thinking and stuff like that, then it just becomes how you play the piece and you stop thinking so hard about it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you have like loads and loads of money, this is an expensive book, but boy, is it ever packed. Like there's just so much stuff. This is the Complete Method for Harp by Henriette Renié. It actually also has the La Riviere. I think a great chunk of the La Riviere is even in the book. And she's got like chapters on just about everything you could imagine, full of advice and so on. So it's kind of a treasure because I just every so often I just open it up randomly, like what's in here, and I keep finding things that I've never even looked at. So I think that's pretty much all I had prepared.
That's great. Does anybody have any questions about the Mozart or 4 against 3? Okay.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think if there was something else about this Mozart. I remember that there was a brilliant, brilliant fingering in the 3rd movement. Just trying to think where that was. In fact, I used to find that the 3rd movement didn't, maybe because it was the 3rd movement and I had already survived the first 2, that by that point I wasn't as frightened anymore. It just never seemed to bother me as much as the learning the 1st movement. And there's all these different cadenzas that you can do if you're, with this thing. There's like several. The Renié are the most commonly played, but there's a really nice set of cadenzas by Nino Rota, who was the guy who scored the Godfather. They're just absolutely gorgeous, and so I used the Rota cadenzas when I played it with Camille.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just looking to see if now I can. Oh yeah, it was I just want to show you in the rondo. So he's got the da 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 da. Right, this part. Now he does this like da 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 da, and then he puts in an E sharp and goes instead of going. So instead of skipping he just does that, and then back to the E, and then he takes left hand takes the and then you're back into this whole other thing. And then, oh yeah, he uses the little 2-1. So instead of using all your right hand here, you go and slide, and you're back. So yeah, so there's all kinds of little ways that whenever he can, he'll take his left hand up and just grab something just to give your right hand a bit of a break. Yeah, I know there's something else in there, but I can't think what it was.
And lots of that 3rd movement kind of, if you clump it together, lots of it works kind of as a standalone piece for the harp. Even the 1st movement to a certain extent, but it's a little bit jumpy. But that 3rd movement has some really nice melody for the harp, and so
yeah, there's that
something.
Lovely that part that goes. Yeah, and then there it goes like. So he takes the first instead of going. does that. And it's like just a little bit less work for your left hand. Instead of, yeah, so he takes this one, and then, so that's just
Yeah,
kind of another thing he does.
that's smart.
All right, that's
Yeah.
enough Mozart for now.
The third move. We'll save the third mover for another time. But yeah, I mean, I've never played it at a gig, but it is a nice, like for background music, or it's like you just putting chunks of it together can be really nice. With my flute player, we did the first movement quite often on gigs. We just cut out the orchestra parts and
Oh,
just played
fun.
through the movement. So yeah, we played it a lot at gigs for weddings and recessionals.
Yeah.
It was our go-to recessional. Do you want the Mozart? Yeah, that was a good one. And so our next lesson will be pieces you guys can perform. And then I think we have a few things left over from some of the other folders that we can take a look at. I think, did we have parting glass or something? We had one Celtic piece, I think, that
Oh,
we
or
had
was
to
it
look at.
Shimor? Maybe I can't remember, but we can look and see what was left in the folders if there's anything we skipped over or didn't really work much on.
That sounds good. But also, if you have something that you're working on and you want to see I don't know, what fingering might someone else use or anything, any questions or anything that you want to work on, you can just pop us an email for after the performances. Okay,
All right. So
great. Look,
next time I see you, I'll be probably in a boat.
I love it. That's so fun.
Well, if the weather permits, we don't head out in a hurricane or anything like that. So,
Oh, no. Well, it looks like a hurricane right now, actually. Do you, do you not have a storm at your house?
there was actually, we had some, like at the beginning of the lesson, it was really pouring, but right now it seems to have stopped.
Has it
Got
stopped now?
blue skies up here. Blue skies with
Yeah.
fluffy clouds.
Oh, well, you know what? We've got the gray clouds here in Burnaby.
They're
They
moving into you.
they
Yeah.
passed through just like insane. Just all of a sudden there was like a storm and the heavens opened up and we have got like the building beside me is like flooded. I can see the whole roof. It's like so must be just in Burnaby.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
I
gonna
will
just turn
be
off
in
the.
Europe at the next lesson, so I won't be with you.
Right. Okay.